Chicago. On his first day of kindergarten, my son came home and told me that his classmates should be punished because all they did was run around and play instead of listen to the teacher. As he grew up, he played basketball at the Jewish Community Center, was a farmer in the musical Oklahoma, and celebrated his bar mitzvah at age 13. In the summer, he can be found at a grill, making hot dogs and hamburgers for kids in the neighborhood. But my son is a teenager and he is black. So he must be in a gang. At least that's what a white woman wrote in the comment section of a newspaper article that mentioned him. And unfortunately, that's how Chicago police officers see my son and so many other children like him. It doesn't matter that he's from a good home, with loving parents, all that matters to the white world is his complexion. They don't see him as my baby boy. They see him as a thug. He and I constantly fear that one day the Chicago Police Department is going to put him in its gang database, which contains names of 130,000 people suspected of being gang members. If they put your name in it, they aren't required to notify you. And then if you get stopped by a police officer, there's a good chance you're going to end up in jail because it's so easy for the police to come up with a reason to arrest you. Being in the database can even make it hard to get jobs or professional licenses because employers might find out when they run background checks. Chicago's gang database has become one of the few issues that community activists and a growing number of elected officials agree is flawed and needs to be reformed. It sweeps in young people who are likely offenders. In reality, anyone can get on the list, and for reasons like dressing a certain way, having tattoos, or just sitting on their porch at the wrong moment. It's depressing but unsurprising that more than 90% of people in the database are Black or Latino, a majority of whom have never been arrested for a violent offense or for a drug or weapons charge. How is it that the police get to decide who is or isn't in a gang? Trying to survive just being poor and living in a dangerous neighborhood is hard enough without an arbitrary system that marks you for punishment by virtue of your existence. Even though Chicago is supposed to be a sanctuary city, our police department shares its gang database with Immigration and Customs Enforcement. This year, ICE officers raided the home of Wilmer Catalan Ramirez, an undocumented immigrant. They threw him on the ground, fracturing his shoulder, and arrested him. His name was in the database, but the police department admitted Mr. Catalan Ramirez wasn't in a gang. The city settled his civil lawsuit this month. To most of us this would be a nightmare, but in Chicago this is actually a good outcome. He could have been like so many other people who can't afford a decent lawyer and are left to navigate the legal system without much help. The saddest part is that many of us feel defeated. A mother in my neighborhood told me that her son was arrested after his name was wrongly included in the database. She wasn't even angry, just resigned to the reality in which too many of us are living. She's poor. What is she going to do? Hire a lawyer to get her son's name out of a database? Or save her pennies to bail him out of jail when the inevitable occurs? An impossible choice because the police oppose bail for anyone in the gang database. When violence and crime are the norm, it's no wonder that a shell-shocked and struggling community will give the police carte blanche to hunt down the bad guys. Civil rights be damned. If the police say they are documented gang members, fine, just get them off our streets. But what if not all of these children? Yes, we're often talking about kids in their early teens are engaging in criminal activity. If the police say that you're in a gang, you must be, right. Chicago's police department has long trampled on the civil rights of innocent children. The truth is, No one wants to hear this when another one of their nephews, neighbors, or children has been murdered. They just want someone to pay, and the Chicago Police Department has a ready-made database of potential candidates. My city's police department also uses a practice called trolling to increase arrests. The department gives overtime bonuses to officers who make arrests after their shifts are over. To the outside world, this may look heroic. The police are going above and beyond the call of duty by putting in extra hours to fight crime. In reality, however, it's just another way to incarcerate more people while lining the pockets of the arresting officers. Our tax dollars at work. For so long the problems in our neighborhoods have been allowed to fester. The people get poorer and violence increases. Desperate for safety and peace, we allow terrible practices like the gang database to continue. But there is a human cost to these policies, and I don't want my son, or anyone else's, to suffer. Racial profiling has never and will never keep Chicago safe. Real investments in our communities will.